Hello.
Hey,
What you doing?
sitting here,
Sitting here.
thinking about my eBay addiction.
Your eBay Butters. Hold, please. All right, we're back.
Are we? Are we back?
We're back. Yeah, we said hold, please, because we had to get Butters situated. He started chewing on a bone. Then we gave him a Nola bone, and he's like, "Cool, thanks. I'm gonna chew it right here."
Yeah, I'm gonna lick it.
Right.
It sound real gross.
Yeah. So we had to change locations.
Yeah.
Now
So-
we are in the man nest.
Well, that's fitting because how I was talking about my eBay addiction I have going on.
Oh, that's right.
Buying a bunch of rookie cards.
Oh, yes.
You don't want to know like how many Ellie De La Cruz rookie cards I've bought.
Seriously?
A lot.
Really?
Yeah. But I think I'm good now. I think I'm.
You think you're satisfied?
Yeah.
You've satiated that
I think, but
need.
then and then I'll see one that looks really cool. I'm like, oh, this is a refractor, and it's like rainbow refractor. And then I'll like bid on it, and then I go back and look. I'm like, oh, I already bought that one. So
You really thought it was cool.
yeah.
Well, today, one thing that inspired, I think, our conversation for today was Facebook.
Yeah, just stuff
'Cause
going on.
people are really amped up on Facebook right now. I don't see that calming down
No.
anytime soon. Not that it's ever been calm, but today was or the last couple of days were particularly cuckoo because of the Paris Olympics opening ceremony that was on Friday. So the conversation we want to talk about today is conscious action versus emotional reaction.
Yeah.
Just to kind of explain that a little bit. We're seeing all of this uproar on Facebook about the opening ceremony to the Paris Olympics and people feeling like it was they didn't understand what it actually was and thought it was a poor representation of the Last Supper.
Yeah.
But that's not even what it was about.
No,
it was about the goddess or the god of
wine.
Wine.
It seemed like the god of partying or overindulgence, or I think is it Bacchus or Bacchus. And there could have been. I mean, it did look like the Last Supper mixed in with the Greek god of overindulgence, but I mean, I don't know. There was a lot of reaction towards it,
Right.
And it's regardless of what you think, and maybe if it had nothing to do with the Last Supper, then you got all these people that are emotionally infuriated and frustrated and feel disrespected when that wasn't even, it was a misunderstanding. So it's almost I guess that's why sometimes it's important to try to keep your emotions in check and to try to, like you said, consciously act and not emotionally react. And this is different than the example that we're talking about, but I think a big one in the program it talked about was acting on spiritual principles rather than reacting with your emotions or on your emotions. So, and that takes a conscious effort. Usually our first, well, at least my first reaction is usually not the appropriate one. If something makes me angry or I see something I disagree with, the first thing that pops in my head, how I want to react, is usually not the appropriate way to do it. So yeah, I guess that's a good way to look at it too. It's whatever that first thought is on how you want to react to something that has you emotionally riled up, is you should just disregard that because it's usually not how you would want to react.
And to that point, also your first reaction may not be your assumption, I guess, may not be correct.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So, in this particular example of the Paris Olympics, people looked at it a certain way because that was their perspective and that's what is on their mind.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and that's not even what it was, what they were depicting.
No. Mm-hmm.
So what I mean, like in life events, it's kind of like, well, we think we feel like we're being disrespected,
Mm-hmm.
or maybe we feel like someone's being mean to us when we weren't even a thought, like they weren't even thinking about disrespecting us
Yeah.
or being mean to us, or like that's we assume that our perspective is the one that is correct.
Yeah. We we quickly, we see something, and rather than stepping back for a minute and trying to process it and be like, what does this mean? Or, we see something that bugs us, and then we quickly react. And then, there are times where it's like you've reacted and you said something or you posted something or did something, and then you find out like, oh, the thing I reacted to was not what I thought it was. But
Mm-hmm.
then not many people are going to turn around and be like, my bad, I screwed up.
Mm-hmm.
Then you almost have to like justify your reaction to something that wasn't what you thought it was. It's like then you're just, it's
Mm-hmm.
like a snowball effect. It's almost like trying to cover up a lie
Yeah.
because it's hard for people to say I was wrong. Like,
Right.
I totally thought it was something else and my reaction was stupid. And
Mm-hmm.
not you know, this whole thing going on right now, like I've seen that where people were just like, okay, well, it wasn't about this, but it was still like, why would you share that? And why was this going on? And this and that. It's like they're still like trying to validate their anger
Yeah.
when, so that's the hard thing. It's like you get these strong emotions and you feel this strong anger, and then you realize that it's not justified, and then you're trying to find ways to justify it,
Mm-hmm.
and that's just a
Yeah.
mess. Really.
Yeah. And if you took that moment, you might recognize that that anger really had nothing to do with that actual thing that happened. Like
Mm-hmm.
it wasn't about that current situation. It was about feelings that went a little bit deeper.
Yeah, and that's true. I mean, a lot of times, like maybe we're just looking for something to
Mm-hmm.
be angry about, a reason to be angry, because it's not so much the external thing, it's whatever's going on inside of us.
Yeah, it triggers that emotion.
Mm-hmm.
Thinking about that, I had a situation where I wanted something to be a certain way, and somebody came back and said, well, can it be this way? And my immediate reaction was, no, it can't be that way.
Mm-hmm.
Right? No, it has to be the way I said it.
Yeah.
And then I stopped and I said, okay, well, why does it have to be that way?
Yeah, and you stopped and you was like, wait a minute, I need to check myself, because are
Mm-hmm.
my motives selfish?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And, I didn't really want to say that.
No, but that was a bit, I was surprised that you did,
Mm-hmm.
which that's,
Yeah, I was like, okay, why does it have to be my way? Is it because it really needs to be this particular way, or do I just want to be right, or I
in
want
control.
I want to be in
Or you
control?
don't want to give that person control. So,
Right.
mm-hmm.
Yeah. So then I was like, okay, now I know what my motives are. How am I going to take action further,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I think it's really just that step of saying, okay, what are my real motives?
Mm-hmm.
The conscious action is stepping back and saying, what are my motives? Before I just react or before I just get upset, let's think about this and get to the real story. What's
Mm-hmm.
the real story? So working through that, and whether you say, okay, this is why I feel this way, I'm still going to decide to be
Or
in
you
control.
could, yeah.
That doesn't mean you make a different decision.
Yeah, you could just be like, okay, yeah, I'm being selfish, but I don't care.
Right.
And at that point, you consciously are aware that you're being selfish.
That's right.
And sometimes you do have, but,
You know.
I guess it just depends. Like, but
Yeah, it's about taking that step and saying, being present in that moment, being aware of your feelings and why you're feeling that way, and then reacting
yeah. And I think,
or taking action, I should
yeah,
say.
yeah, because you react, usually reacting can be based on emotion. But then when you step back, then you're acting on
Mhm.
principles or whatever. But usually, if you do have to stop and question your motives, then
Mhm.
usually your motives aren't good. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? I mean, that's usually a good test. Like, if you even got a question, then it's like, I'm probably not in alignment with spiritual principles or in alignment with like being a good person,
Yeah.
Usually, not always, but I'm glad that we've talked about this, because I did forget like the whole idea of like the first reaction usually being the wrong and it is like that's good for me to like revisit that, because yeah, I mean, you get emotional and your first reaction is just usually like, at least mine, can be pretty bad.
Mhm.
but but then if I sit there and keep thinking about it, though, sometimes it makes me react worse. You know what I
Mm.
mean? Like,
Mhm.
rather than like trying to take a step back and like,
Like, what is it in that? I think Dax Shepard talks about one of the steps. Is it step 4, where it's
well, that's taking an inventory,
taking? There's one
personal
of
inventory.
and it could be that he talks about one of the steps where it's okay. I'm stepping back and I'm saying, I'm recognizing I was in this space. I was feeling out of control, and I made this decision, and it was not the right decision. But I was, the reason I did it was because I was feeling out of control, and that was my way of feeling in control.
Maybe that was part of step 4,
It
because
was.
that's pretty much what you're doing as you're
Mm-hmm.
going through, all the bad stuff that you've done. Maybe, and good, it's important to look at the good stuff, and you're trying to
Mm-hmm.
break down like, well, what set the ball in motion, and why did I react this way, and was
Yeah.
it selfish, was it not, and
Mm-hmm.
about 99% of the time. And sometimes it's like the person might have done something to you, and but it's because you stepped on their toes first,
Mm-hmm.
and you don't really realize that until you put it on paper and look at it, and like, oh, well, no wonder why they did this to me, because I was a complete jerk to him.
Yeah.
But
Mm-hmm. And I think conscious parenting is something that has been a popular conversation over the last several years. That's kind of what it's about, is saying, okay, it's taking a step back before you react,
mm-hmm.
trying to figure out where that's coming from in you, right? And it could be that you're reparenting yourself at the same time. What causes my reaction to this?
Mm-hmm.
Whether it's judgment or not feeling loved, not feeling respected, whatever it is, recognizing kind of who you're dealing with and the developmental stage that you're dealing with, and communicating rather than reacting.
Yeah, different dealing with like a kid or adolescent teenager. It's not like you're dealing with an adult.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, how do you, I mean, kids will hurt your feelings.
They
They
will.
do, but it's like, how do you deal with that? Because it's not like that's not what they're purposely trying to do, like an adult would.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so they don't really
Yeah.
understand that.
Mm-hmm.
But
I know, and my mom has said before, don't let your kids hurt your feelings. They're just kids, And it's like, well, I have feelings and they get hurt. So,
yeah,
I can't really. I mean, I can understand kind of what you're saying. They didn't mean to do it.
Yeah.
And that takes the edge off for sure.
If someone at work or someone does something to you, you hold a grudge and you never forget it, and you just like want to throw it back in their face all the time. And then, but then, like your kid does something to you, and you want to, you can't really feel the same way. I mean, I guess maybe that's where unconditional love comes in. I don't know.
Yeah.
Because, and maybe that's almost like a narcissistic behavior to like hold on to a grudge and to continually like bully your kid with it, or a loved one.
Yeah.
But so yeah, but parenting and reacting and having thick skin and trying not to be hurt by their actions, that's a tough job, really.
Lots of breathing.
Yeah.
So you can get in those situations no matter where you're at home, like we said, parenting, with your partner, with coworkers, with people on the road as you're driving. These feelings really bubble up. When you're not in those situations, you think, okay, yeah, it's definitely better to not allow those times to get to you and not let that emotional reactivity get the best of you. But it can be really hard in the situation when you're in it and you feel it and you want to respond angrily to a text message or post something online or whatever it might be. Do you have any tricks, or do you have anything that you do to try to stay conscious in those moments and make decisions from a conscious place rather than a reactive place?
I mean, as of late, I think I've been more reactive in certain things. I mean, if you want to get into like online stuff, I don't. My main thing that keeps me from posting opinions is like I have an opinion, but I don't always have stuff to back it. So, and then I don't want to have to deal with the ongoing argument back and forth with people over stuff, over a comment that I might make. It's just not worth it to me.
Right.
But I try not to get wrapped up in all the stuff that's going on in the world, because all it does is just affect my sanity and my peace of mind. And I don't, it's hard enough to be content. I don't need like all this other stuff going on that's gonna rent space in my head. You know what I mean? So, but there's a lot of big things going on right now that can get you like emotional and just opinionated and then angry. And yeah, it's hard not to take the bait and like get involved and then go back and forth with someone. But that's the thing. So there, I work with a lot of people, or I'm friends with a lot of people that have different viewpoints than me. And like, I don't want that to affect our friendship.
Yeah.
So, and we talk about stuff, and that's the difference between in person talking about stuff versus online. Online, it's so informal that you say stuff that you wouldn't normally say face to face. So I just try to avoid doing any of that stuff on social media.
Yeah.
It can get ugly. I mean, it really can. But
It can. It can. And over the smallest things, like talking about this and thinking about some of the things that you see online, or even well, let's talk about online first. What is it, if you ask them to sit back, okay, what is it that's really bothering you about somebody going a certain speed limit on the road? What's that feeling that you're getting? Right? I know you're reacting to somebody and you're upset with them.
Why are you raging over it?
Why are you raging over it? How does it really making you feel? Is it a judgment thing? Is it a power thing? Is it, what is it? That base level thing that you can kind of get in touch with, be conscious of, so that you can make a decision from that place.
Mm-hmm.
Again, the decision may be the same, but it may not have as much fury behind it, you know?
No.
Think about like news shows. So, really, news shows now, a lot of them, some of them are just informational, but you have a lot of news shows and networks that are just really entertainment.
Well, it's like
And that's,
shock. They're trying to throw the biggest, scariest
and it's just
issues.
opinion.
Yeah.
You know, there are all these opinion shows.
Mm-hmm.
So the opinion, people might have these different opinions, but none of them are factual, right? They're
Mm-hmm.
all their opinion. Sometimes you notice that they're getting so riled up and so emotional about it. What is that base level emotion that they're reacting to? Versus if they, to your point, if they had a conscious conversation with that person or somebody representing a topic that they are fired up about, would it be the same?
Mm-hmm. One, it's not just, some people might think you're just talking about like political, but I mean, even ESPN,
Oh my
like,
gosh.
you know,
Screamy screamers thing?
yeah, it's, I mean, I used to watch Sports Center and let it rerun, but now it's all the talk shows, and it's a, you know, like you said, it's all people's opinions and they're going back and forth, but that's like, it seems like that's what people want to watch. They want to watch two people argue about stuff.
Yeah.
Because you can't tell me people would watch those shows if everyone on the panel agreed on everything. So they have to go into it being like, all right, I'm going to say LeBron is the best basketball player, and you're going to say Michael Jordan's the best basketball, and we're going to fight about it for an hour.
Yeah,
Because
that's what it
that,
is.
yeah, if they both say LeBron's the best, but there's no show.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Well, then maybe there doesn't need to be a show.
well, it's just, you know, it's like people like to see drama, people like to see arguing, people like to see debate. They like to see two people debate,
Mm-hmm.
regardless if it's sports, if it's politics, if it's like The View. I mean, The View's probably a
Mm-hmm.
classic one. I never watched it,
Mm-hmm.
but
But are we calling that debate?
well, I mean,
I mean, I think people
yeah,
are calling that debate, but is that really what it
no, I don't
is?
know. I mean, it's a bunch of arguing.
Yeah. It's a bunch of arguing. Nobody's listening
Hmm.
to the other person and responding.
Yeah.
They're responding with the point that they want to try to keep making.
Hmm. And maybe that's why we're in the state we're in, because we've been watching these shows for a while now, and that's what we're used to seeing. Like,
Mm-hmm.
and people do like to argue. There was a guy I used to work with at work who he would he knew how this guy felt about certain things, and
Mm-hmm.
he would purposely say stuff because he wanted to argue with someone.
Oh my goodness.
So there's people who are like that.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
We kind of got off track, but
Well, I mean, I think we're
you,
it's still in the same conversation because
you just gotta be careful how you react to.
yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, let's think about that though. So the shows that we have on right now are very reactive based,
Mm-hmm.
right? And whether they're reacting to somebody across the table from them or they're reacting to a soundbite that, you know, we heard on the news or a lot of people like Real Housewives or Bachelorette or something like that. There's a lot of drama and reactivity
Mm-hmm.
there, right?
Yeah.
And anything that we're going to spend a lot of time watching and listening to are going to be embedding into our psyche. And we're going to be thinking that that's okay or that's normal or that's what everybody's doing. You know, it's just going to feel like that's how the world works.
Mm-hmm.
But it doesn't have to be that way. Like if we all really just sat back and not reacted and we stopped watching these
Mm-hmm.
shows, you know, but I mean,
Well,
that's not going to happen. But you know, it starts, it's kind of like Gandhi, be the change you wish to see. If you want to see that type of change, then it has to start with you saying, you know, being responsible for your own actions and reactions.
I think the big thing is too is not being so influenced. Because that's the thing. Everything, I think we're letting it all influence us so much. And people might not understand. It's like the speed limit thing. So there's a road in Marysville called Coleman's Crossing that is they put it at 35 miles per hour, and no one, it should be
It should
25,
not.
because
Yeah.
everyone, there's Walmart there, there's fast food, you cannot go 35 through down the whole road.
No.
But anyways, it's a big joke in Marysville because no one drives 35 miles per hour on it. So over the years, you see it posted a lot, like Coleman's Crossing 25 miles per hour. It's like an ongoing joke, but I think it's gotten to a point where people are like, they've seen that so much and so much complaining about it that there's been a couple people that have like they've gotten in rage fits over it. And
Followed people
yeah,
and
following
yelled at
people.
them.
Yeah. So what, but you can't tell me that like, it's like, well, is it because people have seen this ongoing joke and now people like are enraged over it? You know, do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Like,
and our culture is aggressive.
yeah, so I don't know. If you see something, if you see people complaining about something like over and over again, then eventually someone's going to snap. You know, like, so it just, I think you just have to be careful. There's a lot of information out there anymore, and you got to be careful how you react to it, or how you look at it, how you choose to look at it. You don't have to get emotional over everything you see.
Even if you get emotional
You don't have
at
to
first,
react.
you don't have to stay in that space.
True. Yeah.
You can say, like you said, you know, your first reaction might be one thing, but you don't have to take action, you know, on that emotional expression.
And it's like you had asked me earlier about like, well, how do you deal with it, or how do you, whatever, the, and I said I don't choose to engage, because that's another thing too. Back back when chat rooms were big, or message boards, I used to get on um, a message board for college for Michigan, and we talk about like the game that happened. It was an ESPN message board, and there would be like trolls in there purposely like saying stuff to get you angry. Well, you go back and forth with, and they just keep like, you reply something and then they reply back, and like I would be like pissed off the whole night over some stupid message board and a troll that was purposely trying to get us angry. And so that's not like what I want to, that's not what, I don't want to go to bed thinking about an argument that I had on Facebook with someone.
Right.
So it's better for me to just not engage,
Or
because I've been there where it's like there's been like an online argument, and then you're so obsessed with it, and that's all you can, and then you're laying in bed and you're checking your phone to see if the person like commented back, or it's just not, yeah, it's not good for my mental health.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and to that point, it could be something that you saw on Fox News or MSNBC, you know, where
CNN,
people were,
yeah.
CNN, whatever, and people were like going back and forth and saying, did you hear what this person said? Did you hear what that person said? That person is so ridiculous. And then you get all amped up just watching that show. You turn it off and you try to relax and go to bed.
That's all you think
and
about.
that's all you're thinking about. You're amped up. You've allowed, you know, that energy to come into your space, you know, into your mind, into your body, and it exists there, and it doesn't have anything to do with you.
Yeah.
Right. So, you know, one of the mantras that I've had over the years is it worth my energy? And the answer could be yes. It could be no. It could be yes, but not right now. Like any time, you know, I'm either busy right now and I can't give it the energy I want, or, you know, yes, but I need to think about it a little bit more, you know? So just stopping with that little mantra and saying, is this worth my energy? that can just drop you into that conscious action state,
Mm-hmm.
right? Yes, no, yes, but not right now. I think that can be supportive.
Yeah, and I mean, maybe some people feed off of that. They want something to be
Mm-hmm.
riled up about. But I know with me, that's the thing, that I don't want to lay in bed obsessing over stuff that's going on in Washington D.C. Like, I know we're at like a weird time right now, but still, like, I don't want to lose sleep over it. If I lose sleep, if I'm obsessing and emotional, then I'm going to do something throughout my day that's going to make my life even a bigger mess. So
Mm-hmm.
I need to focus on what I can control within my world, and
Mm-hmm.
I can't let something affect my ability to be the best person I can be. So I have to be careful not to let that stuff consume me.
Yeah, I think that's a really great point.
It is. I mean, it's hard right now with all the stuff. There's things, people I see that post stuff that really piss me off, and but then, like I said, I got to remember that, there's some pretty vile stuff out there, but then that's not everybody believes that way. Like I was
Mm-hmm.
saying, like my friends who are the complete opposite of me, just because they feel differently don't mean that they're like aggressive and hateful, or
Mm-hmm.
just, you can have to. And that's what I wish we could get back to. It seems like this has gotten worse over the years. Like, people are allowed to disagree with each other. That doesn't mean that you have to like be hateful or like wish that person was dead. I see that a lot now. Like, if
Mm-hmm.
someone disagrees with you, you're like saying horrible, nasty stuff and like sending death threats to,
Mm-hmm.
like stuff like that. It's like, it doesn't need to be that way, but
Mm-hmm.
that's a whole nother. I kind of went off on a tangent with that, but it just, if everybody in this world felt the same way and agreed upon everything, it would be a pretty boring world. You have to have
Mm-hmm. Well, that'd be okay.
differences. What you think? I don't know.
No, I
You
don't.
got to have a yin and yang, but
Yeah, 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 yeah. To keep everybody honest,
mm-hmm,
right? But to your point, like earlier, you said there's so much going on right now, and there's people who say really mean, vile things on about a lot of different things. But if we're talking politics, then we hear that. But also, those sound bites are just like those trolls in the chat room.
yeah, I mean, it
Like
is.
they're
They're
like nobody's
trying.
talking about actual things that they're going to do for the regular American person. It's
Mm-hmm,
just, calling each other names like a 12-year-old boy.
mm-hmm.
That's all that's going on, and it doesn't do
Yeah.
anything. It's not helpful to anybody, any of us.
No, and I guess it is. It's just being a troll, and you see a lot of like, there's people that post memes and they say some pretty nasty stuff with it. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it's like, you're right. It's just like being a troll, pretty much. And
Mm-hmm. So if we could get the powers that be to consciously act for the good of the American
well,
people.
you don't want to get all political.
No.
I mean, but I think it's more just about trying not to let
But
all
all
the stuff that's out there like bug it.
right. Because it can be very easy to do.
Mm-hmm.
It can be very easy to do when we hear the trolls talking, or we hear, even just to hear people fighting on those shows.
Mm-hmm.
It can amp up our nervous system.
Yeah.
And our nervous system doesn't need to be amped up unless you're being chased by a tiger.
Yeah, exactly. But they do. People, I'm sure there's some people who get so like worked up seeing this stuff that that's probably what they feel like.
Well, right. And a lot of people don't even recognize that it's affecting them. So, for example, I was in meditation this morning, and I was laying there, and I felt really good, like everything was good. And then I just kept noticing that my legs were really tense. And then I released them. And then I noticed that I got real tense again. So, it's telling me that generally speaking, I'm in a state of tension,
Mm-hmm.
that my muscles are tense, and that I have to just keep reminding myself to
To relax.
relax them.
Mm-hmm.
Right? There's no reason that my whole body needs to be tensed. all the time.
No, that's quite unnatural.
Right.
It made me think of what I was talking about before. Someone I know, he was also a big Michigan fan. I'm a Michigan fan. But he, like, if Michigan would lose, like, his household, it was scary. Like, he would be so angry. Like, the kids and the wife, it was, like, not fun to be in that house if Michigan lost because you would get so angry and frustrated. But it's kind of the same thing with, like, it makes you wonder if people react that way to all the interactions and stuff online and all the arguing. Are they taking that, like, um, anger, disappointment, or frustration? Are they, like, taking that out on their family? Are they taking it out at work? Are they? And that's not. That's the thing you got to ask yourself. Like you said, is this really worth being angry over and affecting the relationships I have with the people that I love? And it's like, no, it's not. Like, it's okay to be upset about stuff, but then if you're taking all that emotion out on the people around you, then there's a problem. So it's something to think about.
Yeah. Especially if you have any control over it.
If you do or don't.
If you don't.
No.
Like, you're not playing the game.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
That, like,
yeah.
you weren't engaged.
Well, I think that's why people get so angry, because it's lack of control. So that's the only way they feel like they can control it.
I think that's all we have. Do you have anything else?
No, I mean, hopefully we didn't get, like, too political. It's not our agenda to try to talk about politics or how we feel about them. It's just you can't help but see all the stuff out there on social media right now, and all the just back
on
and
all
forth
sides.
and just the reaction. So I guess if anything, don't trust your first reaction. Take a step back, weigh it out, and
ask yourself what you're really feeling. And what are you really feeling, and does it match does this reaction match the scenario?
Yeah. Is it worth being that upset over or whatever?
Yeah.
Maybe it is. Maybe you take a step back and you're like, no, I want to get in a pissing match with someone. Whatever they call it. I want to go fisticuffs with someone.
Fisticuffs.
Bring it on.
Yeah. Right. But like you said, you're consciously deciding that that's what you want to do.
And then you can't blame anyone but yourself.
You're right. Then you need to have another conversation with yourself. Perhaps call a mental health professional.
Yeah.
No, I'm just
the
kidding.
Definition of insanity.
Hey, you know what? We've all been through different periods of our life where we've made great decisions and we've made not so great decisions. And, as long as we learn from them and move forward, then we're ahead.
Yeah. It's a different time now, though, with social media. I mean, I think it's a lot easier to make a bad decision that can really screw up your life.
Yeah.
Yeah. Before, it had to be in person. You had to do really, and it's, it's hard. Well, I made a lot of stupid decisions in person, but it is, I mean, like, you do it online and all you do, it's not that hard to type something stupid and then you can't take it back.
Nope.
So, I don't know.
All right. Well, on that note, make good decisions, everyone. Don't
think about your future, your kids' future, your dog's future.